Imagine walking into a dealership, pointing at a $35,000 electric car, and being told nobody wants it. Not because it is ugly, not because it is unreliable, but because of something far more complicated, far more fascinating, and far more revealing about the future of transportation. These vehicles are sitting on lots by the thousands, quietly collecting dust while their manufacturers scramble to understand what went wrong. And what went wrong is a story that involves broken promises, engineering trade-offs nobody told you about, and a market that is far more complicated than any commercial makes it look. The truth is, the electric vehicle segment under $40,000 is one of the most turbulent battlegrounds in automotive history right now. We are talking about cars packed with real technology, genuine ambition, and some genuinely surprising features that most buyers walk right past. Before we go deeper into this story, if you find yourself hooked already, go ahead and subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment telling us what you think is really killing EV sales at this price point. Now let us get into why cars that should be flying off the shelves are going nowhere fast. To understand why these cars are failing to connect with buyers, you have to understand what they actually are under the skin, because the engineering story here is genuinely impressive and almost nobody is telling it. Take the Chevrolet Equinox EV, priced around $35,000 and built on GM's Ultium platform, which uses a pouch cell battery architecture designed to reduce heat buildup and extend longevity in ways that traditional cylindrical cells simply cannot match. Or look at the Volkswagen ID.4, which carries a rear-mounted electric motor producing 201 horsepower in its base form, with a flat floor made possible by the MEB platform that VW spent over $7 billion developing specifically for electric vehicles. These are not compromised gasoline cars awkwardly converted. They are ground-up electric architectures with serious pedigree. And this is where things get interesting, because when you dig into the ownership data, real-world efficiency numbers for these cars often beat their EPA estimates by 10 to 15% in mild climates, something that almost never happens with internal combustion engines. The engineering is solid, the platforms are legitimate, so the question becomes something else entirely, and the answer lives in a place most automotive journalists refuse to visit. Here is where most drivers never realize this, but the real problem with these $35,000 EVs is not the cars themselves. It is the infrastructure math that buyers do in their heads before ever stepping into a showroom. A 2024 study by J.D. Power found that 21% of consumers who considered an EV ultimately did not buy one primarily because of charging concerns, and not the technology of the car itself. The average Level 2 home charger installation costs between $1,000 and $1,500 when you factor in electrician fees and panel upgrades, which quietly adds to the real purchase cost in a way that no sticker price shows. And then there is the cold weather range penalty, which for many affordable EVs can reach 30 to 40% in temperatures below freezing, a detail buried in footnotes that feels like a betrayal when you discover it in January. What makes this even crazier is that the exact same buyers who reject these cars on range anxiety often have commutes under 40 miles per day, well within the comfort zone of even the most modest EV battery. The gap between perception and reality is staggering, and it is costing these cars their entire market. If you are finding this eye-opening, subscribe, share this video with someone who is on the fence about going electric, and drop a like because we are just getting to the part that will genuinely surprise you. But there is one detail almost nobody talks about when it comes to these affordable EVs, and it sits in the ownership cost column rather than the sticker price. A Consumer Reports analysis found that EV owners spend roughly 40% less on maintenance over 5 years compared to equivalent gasoline vehicles, because electric motors have dramatically fewer moving parts, no oil changes, no timing belts, no exhaust systems slowly disintegrating underneath the car. The Chevy Equinox EV, for instance, uses a single-speed reduction gear instead of a multi-speed transmission, eliminating one of the most expensive repair categories in traditional vehicle ownership entirely. And when you stack that against the average American spending $3,000 to $5,000 per year on gasoline at current prices, the real 5-year cost of owning one of these so-called unwanted $35,000 cars can actually undercut a $28,000 gasoline equivalent when electricity costs are factored in. The financial case is hidden in plain sight, but it requires a kind of mental accounting that dealerships are spectacularly bad at explaining and buyers are not naturally inclined to do standing in a showroom. Meanwhile, the used EV market is adding another twist that is genuinely shocking and almost nobody anticipated. The used EV market in 2023 and 2024 experienced something that would have seemed impossible just 3 years earlier: rapid depreciation on a scale that rivals luxury cars. Some 2022 model year EVs lost more than 30% of their value within 18 months, creating a bizarre situation where a used EV with 15,000 miles costs barely more than the federal tax credit alone would have knocked off a new one. What nobody predicted was that falling battery costs and aggressive new model pricing from manufacturers like Tesla, Hyundai, and even Chevy would cascade down the market this fast, making last year's car feel like ancient technology almost overnight. But here is the flip side of that, and it is genuinely fascinating. Battery degradation in real-world use cases has proven far more durable than early skeptics claimed. A 2023 study analyzing over 15,000 EVs found that average battery capacity loss was only around 2.3% per year, meaning a 5-year-old EV still has more than 88% of its original range, a statistic that almost completely dismantles the second-hand anxiety narrative. The irony is thick, because the market is penalizing cars for perceived battery fear at the exact moment the data shows that fear was largely unfounded. And yet, even knowing all of this, there is still one final piece of this puzzle that reframes the entire conversation about why nobody is buying these cars. The real reason nobody wants these $35,000 electric cars has almost nothing to do with the cars, and almost everything to do with timing, trust, and a market in the middle of a psychological transition that has no historical precedent. Buyers who grew up pumping gas at every corner station are being asked to fundamentally rewire their relationship with a vehicle in exchange for savings they cannot see, powered by a grid they do not fully trust, through a charging network that is genuinely still catching up. The technology arrived faster than the ecosystem, and the ecosystem arrived faster than the cultural comfort. Rivian, Hyundai with the Ioniq 5, and even Ford with the Mustang Mach-E have shown that EV enthusiasm is absolutely real when the product storytelling is strong enough, which means this is partly a marketing failure and partly a patience problem. The manufacturers who built these $35,000 cars built them for a world that is coming, but the buyers they are targeting are still living in the world that is here. Incentives like the federal $7,500 tax credit available on qualifying vehicles under the Inflation Reduction Act help close the gap, but the gap is more emotional than financial. These cars are not failures of engineering, they are victims of timing. If this story changed the way you see the EV market, subscribe, leave a like, share this with someone who is either buying a car soon or someone who swore they would never go electric, and tell us in the comments what surprised you most. The future of driving is not waiting, and neither should you.